The Krillian armada emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, their 300 warships casting shadows across the asteroid belt. Commander Zexthor clicked his mandibles in satisfaction as he observed the blue planet on his view screen, another primitive world ripe for conquest. "Begin the approach," he ordered, his voice resonating through the flagship's bridge. "Prepare the subjugation protocols." On Earth, in a cramped monitoring station buried beneath the Rocky Mountains, Nick stared at the screen with widening eyes. The coffee cup in his hand trembled, spilling dark liquid across the console. "Kiza, you need to see this," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Kiza rushed over from her station, her dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail after 18 hours of monitoring deep space signals. What she saw made her blood run cold. The radar screen was lit up like a Christmas tree, each blip representing a vessel larger than anything humanity had ever built. "How many?" she asked. 312, Nick replied, his fingers flying across the keyboard. "And they're accelerating. ETA to Earth orbit, 14 hours. Kiza reached for the red phone, the direct line to the Joint Chiefs. Her hand shook as she lifted the receiver. This was it, the moment humanity had feared and prepared for since the first radio signals were sent into space. They were no longer alone, and their new neighbors were not friendly. Across the planet, emergency protocols activated. Military bases went to full alert. Civilians remained unaware, going about their daily lives while their leaders gathered in bunkers and war rooms. The president addressed the assembled generals with a grim expression. "How long until they're in range?" she asked. 13 hours, Madam President, General Morrison replied. "We're scrambling every fighter, every missile defense system, every orbital platform we have. But ma'am..." He paused, his weathered face showing doubt for the first time in his 40-year career. "Against 300 capital ships, our chances are..." "I know, General," the president interrupted. "Do what you can. And God help us all." Commander Zexthor watched as his fleet entered the inner system. His sensors detected the primitive vessels launching from the planet's surface. Chemical rockets, kinetic weapons, nuclear warheads. He almost pitied them. The Krillians had conquered 17 civilizations across 4 galaxies. This would be no different. "Shields to maximum," he ordered. "Let them exhaust their arsenal. Then we strike." Back in the monitoring station, Nick's fingers hammered frantically at his keyboard. Kiza stood beside him, coordinating with military installations worldwide. The first wave of Earth's defense forces was launching. Every satellite weapon, every experimental prototype, everything humanity had built in secret for this exact scenario. "They're not even trying to dodge," Nick observed, watching the tactical display. "They're just taking the hits." Kiza's stomach dropped. "Their shields are absorbing everything. Nick, our best weapons aren't even scratching them." On the Krillian flagship, Zexthor allowed himself a moment of amusement. The humans were brave, he would give them that. "Foolish, but brave." He raised one clawed appendage. "Fire a warning shot. Demonstrate our power. Perhaps they will surrender and spare us the..." The ship lurched violently. Alarms shrieked across the bridge. Zexthor was thrown from his command throne, crashing against the deck plating. "Report!" he roared, regaining his footing. His tactical officer's face had turned a sickly shade of green. "Commander, they've launched something. Not from Earth, from everywhere. On every moon, every asteroid, every piece of space debris large enough to hide a weapon, humanity had placed a surprise. Not for the aliens, but for each other. Cold War satellites that were supposed to have been decommissioned. Secret weapons platforms that were never supposed to exist. Experimental technology that violated every treaty ever signed. And now all of it activated at once. But that wasn't what terrified the Krillians. "Commander," the tactical officer whispered, his voice trembling. "They're not trying to destroy us. They're cutting us off. Every jump point, every hyperspace corridor. They're collapsing them. They're trapping us here." Zexthor felt true fear for the first time in his life. The humans weren't defending themselves. They were ensuring that if they went down, the Krillians would go down with them. No retreat, no escape. No warning to send back to the Empire. Nick's screen showed the massive energy spikes as humanity's final gambit unfolded. Kiza grabbed his shoulder, her nails digging into his uniform. "Nick, what are we doing?" she asked. "Those are dimensional bombs. If we detonate them all, we seal this entire system in a pocket dimension," Nick finished grimly. "Nothing gets in. Nothing gets out, ever." That's suicide, Kiza breathed. For everyone. Better than slavery, Nick replied, meeting her eyes. Better than extinction. On the Krillian flagship, panic spread like wildfire. Ships attempted to jump to hyperspace, only to find the pathways collapsing around them. The humans had weaponized physics itself, turning the Sol system into a cosmic prison. Commander Zexthor finally understood. These beings didn't fight like the others. They didn't cling to hope of survival or dreams of victory. They had stared into the abyss and chosen to drag their enemies down with them rather than surrender. Open a channel, Zexthor said quietly. To the humans. All frequencies, Kiza's console lit up. An alien voice translated by their computers filled the monitoring station. We have underestimated you, the voice said. We came for conquest. You have shown us that humanity's response to invasion is mutual annihilation. We wish to negotiate. The president's voice came through, broadcast to the entire system. You wanted Earth, Commander. Now you'll never leave it. But perhaps we can learn to share this prison you found yourselves in. Stand down your weapons. Prove you can coexist, or we activate the final sequence and this system becomes a tomb for all of us. Nick looked at Kiza, and despite everything, he smiled. They didn't expect us to be crazy enough to do it. Nobody expects humans to be crazy enough for anything we do, Kiza replied, allowing herself a small smile. That's always been our advantage. In the depths of space, the Krillian fleet powered down their weapons. They had come expecting prey. They had found something far more dangerous, a species that would burn down heaven itself rather than kneel. And in that moment, the galaxy learned the most important lesson about humanity. We don't fight wars to win. We fight them to ensure that losing costs everyone everything. The invasion fleet had approached Earth. What happened next had terrified them all, not humanity's strength but their absolute willingness to embrace annihilation over surrender. In the end, that made all the difference.